Hello and welcome. We are on page number 11 of chapter number 4 dealing with exemptions. We are in exemption notification for services. Yesterday we were discussing, or in fact, in the previous class, we were discussing about the services relating to charitable and religious activities. So these services in entry number 1, entry number 13 and 60 and entry number 80 of the notification we are analyzing. In the preceding class, we have done a bit of analyzing the provisions contained in the said notification, and in this session, we will continue with our analysis with regard to charitable activities. Now, we will be discussing about yoga meditation camps by charitable trusts. Now, the entity should be a registered entity under section 12AA of the Income Tax Act, and the advancement of religion, spirituality or yoga is one of the entry in the notification. Now, if the entity is registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act and the service is provided is advancement of religion, spirituality, yoga, then it will be exempt. Of course, the question of chargeability to GST generally arises only when there is consideration. So, if a fee or consideration is charged from the participants to participate in religious, yoga or meditation programs or camps, then that will be exempt. Sometimes what will happen is residential programs will be organized or residential camps will be organized for this yoga or meditation or for religious purposes. Now, in the residential programs, what will happen is they will charge a combined fees both for the imparting of yoga or practicing of meditation, and also they will be provided lodging and boarding facilities for the said period of training. So whether the amount of consideration received towards lodging and boarding is also exempt or not is a question now. Now it has been provided that it will also be exempt provided the primary activity or the objective and purpose of the residential program is for advancement of religion, spirituality or yoga. Suppose the main object not being the advancement of religion, spirituality or yoga, and the charitable trust which is registered under section 12A of the Income Tax Act is merely providing accommodation or serve food and drinks, and a consideration is taken, then such a consideration will be subjected to GST and it can't be exempt. And also where donation is received, and accommodation and food is provided without there being an element of advancement of religion, spirituality, yoga, it will be generally subjected to GST. This exemption won't be applicable. Also, if the entity which is registered under 12AA and it is holding fitness camps and aerobic classes, dance classes, music classes, that these type of activity will not be exempt under this entry, but there may be some other entry wherein you have to find out whether these type of activities that have been rendered by the or supplied by the charitable entities registered under 12AA. But for this entry is concerned now, except for advancement of religion, spirituality, yoga, Nothing else will be exempted here. Only these activity carried on by the charitable entity registered under 12A for advancement of religion, spirituality or yoga is alone covered. Okay. The rest of the things are not exempt under this entry, but there may be some other entry which may exempt, which you have to find out. Let's take an illustration. Whereas Bhavya Jyoti Foundation is a charitable trust and is registered under 12A of the Income Tax Act. It is organizing a meditation camp. Now, will it be exempt or not? Definitely exempt. All the two conditions are satisfied. What are the two conditions? The entity should be registered under 12A of the Income Tax Act 1961. Bhavya Jyoti Foundation is registered. Now, what it is carrying on? It is carrying on a meditation camp. It is charging consideration. That consideration will be exempt by the virtue of this entry of the notification given under section 11 of the CGST Act. Now, it may sometimes happen that these entities which are registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act may be running or managing a hospital. Now, whether the services provided by this hospital is exempt under this entry, no, it is not exempt under this entry, but it will be exempt under entry number 74. Entry number 74. Because if you examine here, in respect of a charitable activity, only what are all the items that have been listed in entry number 1, 13, 60, 80 will be covered. Right? And that too, it should be a charitable activity. You have a definition of charitable activity. Here it is a public health. And that public health care and counseling should be to some specific kinds of patients. But it is not applicable to all types of patients. So if the hospital is providing services to the listed type of patients, that too coming under the definition of charitable activity, the exemption will be applicable as per this entry. But if the hospital is providing the service to any other kind of patients, it will not be covered by this entry, but there is another entry in entry number 74 wherein you get the exemption. So there you have to find. Now sometimes the charitable entity registered under 12AA provides training or coaching in recreational activity. Now this is entry number 20. Now we are entry number 80 what we are discussing. Now recreational activities definition is wide. But however, this entry number 80 deals with only recreational activity relating to arts, culture, sports. That too, this is supplied by an entity registered under 12AA of the income tax. So what are the twin conditions under entry number 80? The entity providing or supplying the service should be of an entity registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act, and it should be supplying service relating to recreational activity and specifically that too relating to art, culture, sports. So only these items are covered in this entry, and other items are not at all covered in this entry. Now here the activity relates to arts, culture, sports. So all forms of arts, culture, sports are covered. So culture, previously in one of the entry we discussed that dance activity of imparting the art of dance for consideration was not covered in the previous entry. You check here. Somewhere we learned that here in this entry we learned that the fitness camps, aerobics, dance, music will be taxable. Means it is not exempt under this entry. But here if you find the charitable entity which provides the supply of service or the activity is coaching in recreational activity relating to arts. So now here the dance is covered. So my dear friends, what you have to understand is, first you understand what is the activity that is being carried out. Now once you are aware and thorough and have an understanding of the activity that has been carried out by the charitable entity registered under Total AA, now you come to these relevant entries in the notification. You go through the entries one by one and check whether the activity that has been carried out by that entity registered in 12AA will fit into the entry which has been given in the exemption notification. If it does not fit into one of the entry, go to the next entry. If it does not fit into that entry, you go to the next entry. So until the last of the notification, you have to check whether that activity has been notified in the notification or not. If you find a place in the notification in any one of the entries, then definitely that exemption will be applicable. Else it won't be applicable. Moving forward, what about the services provided to charitable trusts? Until now, what we have learned about an activity or supply made by a charitable entity registered under 12AA. But sometimes what will happen is the charitable entity registered under 12AA will receive services. So whether the services received by the charitable trust, are they exempt? Generally they are not exempt unless otherwise in any one of the entries it should have been specifically provided this activity which has been received by the charitable trust registered under 12AA is exempt. Unless otherwise it is specifically provided, it can't be exempted. That you should understand. We will go to the next entry. Entry number 13 of the notification, wherein it has been referred that the service by way of a religious ceremony is exempt. So, if somebody is providing a religious ceremony and consideration is charged, then automatically that supply of service is exempt from tax. So what do you mean by religious ceremonies? Religious ceremonies refers to life cycle rituals like special religious pujas, and these religious pujas are conducted in terms of religious texts, and that should be performed by an authorized person by such religious texts, and ceremonies like taking place at the time of birth, marriage, death, etc. So the religious ceremony conducted by an authorized person to conduct those ceremonies as per the religious text. If that person receives consideration, that consideration will be exempt in the hands of the person who is conducting such activity of religious ceremony. For example, Joshi is a priest. He charged 12,000 rupees for conducting a religious ceremony on the birthday of the Ghanshyam's son. So this 12,000 charged by this priest is exempt by virtue of entry number 13. Next entry is number 13B, which relates to renting of precincts of religious place meant for general public. Friends, these are the various terms that have been used in the notification. What will happen is, at the end of the notification, there will be explanations explaining certain terms which have been used in the notification. If you do not find a place with regard to the explanation in the notification, Then we have already understood in one of our preceding classes that if something is defined, if something is mentioned in respect of a term in the notification, if you don't find the meaning at that place, what you can do is you can go to the CGST, SGST or IGST Act and find if it is defined there. Okay. Now, so these some of the terms will have or find a place for the meaning in the notification itself. So here this entry deals with the renting of precincts of a religious place, and that too meant for general public, and it should be owned by the entity registered under the 12 any of the specified sections of the Income Tax Act, and a consideration is charged, and that consideration should not exceed the prescribed limits. So the exemption is based on the amount of consideration that is being charged. Let us say 10,000 is charged. If something up to 10,000 it may be exempt, or if something which is less than 10,000 it may be exempt, and if it is something which is equal to or more than 10,000 it may be chargeable. What do you mean by a religious place? Means it is a place which is meant for conduct of prayers or worship pertaining to religion, meditation or spirituality. Whom do you mean by general public? People at large. Okay. What do you mean by precincts? Precincts should not be defined or restricted. It should not be understood in a restricted sense. The precincts means all the immovable property of that religious place located within the outer boundary of wall. So suppose this is the outer boundary or wall of the religious place. Now the entire place within these outer boundaries will also be considered as the precincts of this religious place. Not only that, just in the street beside the street in which this place is there, there is another place also under the same management or belonging to this temple or religious place itself. So a Kalyan Mandap is located in the next street to this temple, and this Kalyan Mandap also belong to this person only. So this place or in is under the same management. So immediate vicinity and surroundings of that religious place will also be considered to be precincts. Okay. Now, suppose any activity which is other than the conduct of religious ceremony and renting of precincts of religious place will be taxable irrespective of the manner or the name in which consideration is received. So, if any consideration is received for performing a religious ceremony, this is exempt covered by this entry. Also, renting of a precincts of a religious place. Renting of a precincts of a religious place up to a threshold limit is exempt, right? But if you are receiving consideration for any other purpose, including donations, with specific instruction or mutual understanding between the donor and receiver of that religious place, will then it will not be covered by the exemption, it will be chargeable. Suppose somebody donated money to the religious place, and he requested that his advertisement be hosted within the precincts of the religious place. Now that donation will be subjected to GST. But where the donation is being given without any instructions, there is no without quid pro quo, if donation is received, then it will not be subjected to GST. This has been clarified in the flyer given by the GST. Okay. Now let's go to an example. Durga Devi Trust is a religious trust registered under 12AA, and owns and manages and a temple in the locality. Now it has rented commercial shops located in the precincts of the temple for a rent of 10,000 per month. Now if it is less than or equal, less than, sorry, if it should be less than 10,000, the rent should be less than 10,000, then only exemption is applicable. We can go to the entry and check. We can go to the entry and check. Where is the entry? Entry number 13. Renting of the premises, where the precincts of a however, nothing contained in this exemption shall apply where it is 10,000 or more. If it is 10,000 or more, exemption is not applicable. If it is less than 10,000, exemption is applicable. However, this precincts of religious place, here the applicable sections of the Income Tax Act wherein registration is to be taken is 12AA or 1023C5 or 1023BBA. But for the rest of the entries of 1 and what you call entry of 80, it is not the other sections are not included, only 12AA is included. Okay, now we will proceed further. So since the shop is let out for 10,000 rupees, the exemption is not applicable. Also, another illustration with reference to Sarvasikti Foundation. It is an educational institution and it is registered under 1023C5 and it manages a Gurudwara. It has a community hall and it is let out for 9,000 per day. 9,000. So if Kalyana Mandap is let out where the consideration is not equal to or more than 10,000, the exemption will apply. If it is not equal to or more than 10,000, the exemption will apply. So if you can check in the main entry itself. Renting of premises, community hall, Kalyana Mandap. This is per day. Renting of rooms is per day. But and also the renting of previously the renting of shops, previously I showed you this entry, but previously for the shop example I should have shown you this entry, 10,000 or more per month. So for renting of shops it is per month basis, but for renting of premises like Kalyan Mandap, community hall, etc., it is 10,000 or more per day. Means the exemption not applicable. If the exemption is to be applicable, it should be less than or equal to 10,000 per day. Less than 10,000 per day. Equal to means not applicable. Exemption not applicable. Okay. Moving forward to the next entry. Or the next topic. Now this topic is with relation to agricultural related service. Now these agricultural related services are dealt in entry number 24, 24A, 53A, 54, 55 and 55A are the entries in the notification which deals with the agricultural related service. What we will do is we will breeze through the entries, then later we will go into the analysis. So entry number 24, what it says? Loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of rice only. No other product or no other agricultural produce is covered by this entry. Only rice is covered. That too, loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of rice. Mind you, it is not paddy, it is rice. Means already the paddy is milled. It is rice. Next entry 24A deals with warehousing. Friends, you try to understand this entry is related to agricultural related service. It is not related to agricultural produce. If I am selling paddy or if I am selling rice per se, whether GST is leviable or not, you should refer to goods notification. You should refer to goods notification. I am not dealing with rice per se. I am dealing with a service related to rice. I am not dealing with the supply of agricultural produce directly. I am dealing with a service related to agricultural produce. There is a fine differentiation. Don't be of the opinion that rice is exempt. No, no, no. I am not dealing with rice. Whether rice is exempt or not, you have to go to the goods notification. But what I am dealing here, I am dealing with a service relating to rice. I am not dealing with agricultural produce here. I am dealing with a service related to agricultural produce. That you should understand. Now, next one is entry number 24A, which deals with the service by way of warehousing of minor forest produce. Warehousing of minor forest. I am not dealing with whether or not GST is applicable on minor forest produce. No. Minor forest produce has been brought to a warehouse which belongs to me. I have let it out for storage of that minor forest produce, for which I am collecting rent for the warehouse. That rent is exempt. Okay. If the owner of that minor forest produce, if he sells it, whether GST is not applicable on that product is dependent upon the goods notification. This notification relating to service is not at all concerned with that minor forest produce. Here we are only concerned with the warehouse rent received by me, but that I let out that warehouse for storage of minor forest produce. That rent received by me is exempt. Service by way of fumigation in a warehouse where agricultural produce is stored. So, what do you mean by agricultural produce? We have an explanation in this notification that we can deal at a later point of our analysis. Services relating to cultivation of plants. Mind you, the agricultural produce exemption we are not dealing. We are dealing service relating to cultivation of plant, rearing of all forms of animals except horses. Why are you doing cultivation? Why are you doing the activity of rearing of all forms of animals other than horses? I am doing cultivation for food. I am doing cultivation for fiber. I am doing cultivation growing trees if I want bamboo, which is to be utilized as a fuel. I am growing paper plantation for the purpose of raw material in my paper mill and other similar products. So I am doing cultivation or I am rearing the farms of animals other than horses for food, for fiber, for fuel, for raw material or for similar other products or services. Until this it is one part. The other part is service relating to agricultural produce by way of. So these number of services A to E, and all these services are relating to agricultural produce. Relating to agricultural produce. So we are dealing with an activity relating to agricultural produce for which we have charged consideration. That consideration is exempt by virtue of this notification. So, what is the service relating to agricultural produce which are exempt? Agricultural operations directly related to production of agricultural produce. So, the catchword is directly related to including what? Cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant processing or testing. I have an agricultural field. The crop has come to harvest. I engaged Mr. Apparo. I asked him to harvest the crop. Okay, means since the crop is mature for harvest, I asked him to cut it and then to thrash it, and he asked him to separate the paddy from the plant, and I asked him to pack them into gunnies, and I asked him to load into a lorry. All these things have been done for an amount of rupees 50,000. Is the contract between me and that Apparo. Now Apparo has provided me a service in relation to an agricultural produce for which I paid him 50,000 rupees. That 50,000 rupees is exempt in the hands of the Apparo by virtue of this entry number 54. That's all. Supply of farm labor. Some agriculturist Mr. A is there. He has some 10 acres of wetland in which he is growing paddy. So he asked me during the time of plantation, during the time of weeding, during the time of harvesting, he asked me to supply 10 laborers for 10 days each. I provided him, for which I collect charges from the farmer A, and I will keep for myself some money, and the rest of the money I will distribute it to these 10 people whom I have sent to the farm of Mr. A. I pay them daily labors. A won't pay them. I will pay. I am the contractor. Now, that money which Mr. A has paid me for the purpose of supply of farm labor to his crop of 10 acres land, that money which A gave me is not subjected to GST, it is exempt by virtue of entry number 54. Process carried out at an agricultural farm. Mind you, the process is on agricultural produce and the process is made at the agricultural farm itself. I am not taking it to my factory and processing. If I take it to my factory and process, it is something different. But the process what I am carrying out is in the agricultural farm itself, like tending, pruning, cutting, harvesting, drying, cleaning, trimming, sun drying, fumigating, curing, sorting, grading, cooling, bulk packaging and such other operations. So all these are done in the farm itself. And the most important condition is which do not alter the essential character of the agricultural produce. I am doing something to paddy. After what I have done to paddy, paddy should remain as paddy. It should not become rice. It should remain as a paddy. It should be called as a paddy. The characteristic, essential characteristic, it should not lose. So that type of process which have been carried out in the agricultural farm itself will be exempt. And why am I doing all these processes? Why am I doing all these processes? Only to make the produce fit for market. I have grown a crop. That crop is attached to and forming part of the soil and land. Now, can I market it as such? I can't market it as such. I have grown paddy. What I have to do? I have to cut the plants. I have to do harvesting. Then I have to remove the grain from the plant. I have to remove the waste which has been with the paddy, and I should see that there are no stones etc. in that. All these thing processes I will do in my farm itself. Then I will pack it into gunnies. So why am I doing all these things? These processes are being done by me only to make the produce fit for primary market. Okay, unless otherwise I do these processes, I will not be able to move the crop from my field to at least a godown or at least a marketplace. Next, if you are renting or leasing agro machinery, or if you are lending vacant land with or without structures incidental to use. What vacant land means? It is not a vacant land situated in Vijayawada. Vacant land for the purpose of carrying out agricultural activity. I have 1 acre of land at a nearby village. Just I am giving you an example. It does not mean that I really own an agricultural land. Let's assume that I own an agricultural land of 1 acre in a nearby village wherein it is suitable for agricultural activity. It is suitable for growing paddy. I am a chartered accountant placed at Vijayawada, and I have a practice. I, being residing in Vijayawada, having a CA practice, can't carry out the agricultural produce in my village. So what I have done? I have let out that agricultural land to somebody, Mr. X. That Mr. X will pay me 20,000 lease rent per annum. That agricultural lease rent that lease rent for agricultural land which I have received 20,000 is exempt by virtue of this entry number 54. Loading, unloading, packing, storage, warehousing of agricultural produce. You may wonder, you have an entry somewhere in 24. This is relating to rice. Rice can't be treated as agricultural produce because paddy is agricultural produce. Paddy is processed in a mill. Thereby you got a rice. So in order to exempt the rice, there is a separate entry. But as far as this is concerned, this is relating to agricultural produce. Agricultural produce means paddy. Because the no operations have to be done, or operations which have been carried out on that agricultural produce should only be making it fit for a primary market without losing its essential character, right? And also agricultural extension services and services by agricultural produce market committee or board, or services by commission agent for sale or purchase of agricultural produce. So here this entry covers two items. One is the service by agricultural produce market committee, and the other one is the service by an agent, commission agent for sale or produce of agricultural produce, and service by way of fumigation in a warehouse of agricultural produce. There is also separately another entry with regard to fumigation, that is entry number 53A, but this entry number 53A as well as entry number 54H, 54H. Now 54H and this appears to be similar. 53A entry and 54H appear to be similar. You can also check that. Next, carrying out an intermediate production process as job work. In relation to cultivation of plants or rearing all forms of animals other than horses, why are you doing that? For food, fiber, fuel, raw material or other similar products or agricultural produce. Okay. So carrying out an intermediate production process as jobber. That too, it should be in relation to cultivation of plant, etc. Artificial insemination of livestock is also covered. Okay. So these are the basically the entries which are given as such. There will be notes given at the end of the notification in respect of these entries. Now we will discuss these entries along with these notes in our analysis part. First we will go to our entry number 54. Your entry number 54 is relating to service relating to cultivation of plants, rearing of animals, except horses. Why are you doing that? We have already understood. So all forms of animals include pisciculture, sericulture, floriculture, horticulture, forestry, etc. Now, what do you mean by agricultural produce? Agricultural produce means produce out of cultivation of plant and rearing of all forms of animal. You have done cultivation, the output result will be agricultural produce. What is the cultivation you have done? Growing paddy. So paddy is the outcome. So paddy is an agricultural produce. What you have done? Cultivation. Cultivation of wheat. The outcome is wheat. So the agricultural produce is wheat. Now horses will not be taken into consideration under this entry. And why have you done the agricultural activity of cultivation and rearing of animal? For the purpose of food, fiber, fuel, raw material or similar other product. Now this agricultural produce or cultivation process is done with either no further processing or only certain processing is done by the cultivator or producer which does not alter its essential character. It will make it fit for only for the primary market. Okay, it should be the essential character should not be altered. Now some of the further processes which have been applied to agricultural produce to make it fit for primary market includes tending, pruning, cutting, harvesting, drying, cleaning, trimming, etc. Now let's examine what are all the exempted items which have been listed in section 54, or what items or activities will be exempted under section 54. 54 exempts agricultural operations which are directly related to a production of agricultural produce. Now it includes cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant protection or testing. Also further processes like tending, pruning, cutting, harvesting, etc., which are the operations that have been carried out to make the produce fit for primary market without losing the essential characteristics. Now, certain process, if applied, will not be exempted under this entry. What are that? That process which will alter the essential characteristics. For example, you have taken the potatoes from the farm, you have converted into potato chips. The process of converting of potatoes into potato chips will not be covered by this entry because the essential characteristic has been lost. The potato is converted into potato chip. A potato chip can never be considered as a potato. Of course, the raw material might be potato, but can you call a potato chip as a potato? No. The potato has lost its essential characteristic by this process of the process which has been done in the factory. Or you have procured tomatoes from the tomato field and you have made a ketchup. Now, can a ketchup be treated as an agricultural produce? It can never be treated as a produce. So, the process of conversion of tomatoes into tomato ketchup, that process can't be exempt under this entry because that process has resulted in the loss of essential characteristic of that agricultural produce. So this entry won't be exempt. Or you have made a process for the with the agricultural produce to be marketable in the retail market. So what activity is exempt for, as per this entry? The activity of making the produce fit for primary market alone will qualify for exemption as per this entry of the notification. But if you have done something which will make it marketable for the retail market, like grinding, sterilizing, extraction, packing into retail packs, now this can't be considered as an exempt item, or this process, the charges collected for this process of making the produce fit for secondary market or retail market won't qualify for exemption. Right? Farm labor, if you are supplying, it is exempt. We have understood already. Renting or leasing of agro machinery or vacant land is exempt, with or without structures in it. For example, Moolchand has leased out to a farmer Tulsidas. So Moolchand is the landlord, Tulsidas is the tenant. A vacant land. That land also has a greenhouse and storage shed. And these greenhouse and storage sheds should be utilized for agricultural only, because these are required for the purpose of agricultural activity. Now, this leasing of vacant land along with the greenhouse and shed is which are incidental to the use of agriculture. Now, this rent whatever is received by the landlord will be exempt as per this entries. Coming to agricultural extension services. So what are these agricultural extension services? Now these are defined to mean, and this has been defined in the notification itself, application of scientific research and knowledge to agricultural practices through farmer education or training. Generally, how these are done? By training courses, Kisan call centers, farm visits, farm trails, Kisan melas, Kisan clubs, advisory bulletins, and so on and so forth. So somebody is providing a service of Kisan call center for which it is collecting consideration. That consideration is exempt because it is an agricultural extension service and it is covered by the exemption given in this entry of the notification. Next comes Agricultural Produce Committee Service. So there will be an Agricultural Produce Committee, Marketing Committee or board in each and every states. So the states will be setting up these boards. Now what these boards or marketing committees generally do, they do certain support service for facilitating the marketing of the agricultural produce, and they also provide facilities and amenities like sheds, water, light, electricity, grading facility, etc. And they will also take certain measures to see that the minimum support prices are maintained. They see that the agriculture, the growers of the crops, the farmers will get minimum support fees. Now for providing all these services, they may be collecting market fees or license fees or rents. So only those services which are covered under 54G are exempt, and the services which should be directly relating to the cultivation of plants and rearing of all life forms of animals except horses are only covered. So other services which are provided by the Agricultural Produce Committee, like renting of shops or other parties property, it won't be covered. Let us say I am a commission agent. I will be procuring paddy for certain millers. So I will approach the agricultural marketing committee yard. In that yard, I will take a small shop on rent for the purpose of carrying out my commission agency business of procuring paddy for some millers. Now, this letting out of shop to me a commission agent is not at all an activity or service provided by agricultural produce committee, market committee or board relating to the agricultural produce. It should be relating to the agricultural produce or rearing of animals. If it is not directly related to that, such type of service can't be exempted under these provisions. Now, also we should have the commission received by a commission agent. Um, I think maybe at a later part of the notes it might have been given. Now let's move into warehousing of agricultural produce. Now, what is warehousing of agricultural produce? This is item number E. What is that? Loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of agricultural produce. Now let us say, can warehousing of tea be exempt? It can't be done because tea powder is a processed thing. If it happens to be a raw tea, if it is allowed to be stored, such activity will be covered by the exemption. But if it is converted into tea in a factory, the factory makes several processes. So if tea leaf is stored, it is exempt. If leaf tea is stored, it is chargeable, because tea leaf is converted into leaf tea in a factory by carrying out various processes, so it can't be covered. Similarly, if you store jaggery, this is jaggery, this is not exempt. But if you store sugar cane, if you store sugar cane or loading, unloading, warehousing of sugar cane, it is allowed. Now coming to pulses, let us take green gram with husk. Now this is agricultural produce. If you have dehusked it, dehusked split, then this is not covered. This is not covered. Okay. If it is a whole gram, covered. But processing is done in mill. Dehusking has been done. Dehusking has been done. Then if dehusking is done, it will not be done at the agricultural land, it will not be done at the done by the farmer or the producer or the cultivator, but it will be done by a miller. Or splitting, this whole gram is split, then it becomes dal. This will also be done in the mill. So if you are storing, loading, unloading, packing, this one not covered. If you are storing, unloading, packing, warehousing, etc., this one it is covered. Okay. Now this has been clarified through circular number 16/16/2017 dated 15/11/2017. Now coming to custom milling of paddy into rice. Now this is also clarified under circular number 19/19/17 dated 20/11/2017. What it has been done? If paddy is milled into rice, now this is a job work. Whether it is covered as an process which has been applied on the agricultural produce. No, it is not a process which has been applied on agricultural produce. The process of custom milling or job work of milling paddy into rice, what is happening is paddy is losing the essential characteristic and it is becoming into rice. So the job work of milling of paddy into rice can't be exempt as per these entries that has been clarified by circular number 1919-2017. Now previously I am afraid I have missed one of the entry with relating to a commission agent, with relation to a commission agent. With relation to a commission agent. So here you understand the commission agent services for sale of agricultural produce alone is covered. That you should understand. Next. So we are done with the agricultural activity. We are also done with the charitable entity activities. The next one is with relate to educational services. It is covered by entry number 66. Now what we will do is we will start this educational service entry in our next session.